Forget willpower. Building the life you want is about mastering tiny habits, not making massive, unsustainable changes. That's the core message of James Clear's groundbreaking book, Atomic Habits, and it's a message that resonates deeply with the principles we champion here. 10x Wiser delivers transformative insights, empowering you to solve challenges and become your best self. We break down complex ideas into actionable strategies you can implement today. If you're ready to unlock your potential and build a life you love, smash that like button, drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway from this video, and subscribe for more life-changing content. And now let's welcome our host and guest for today's podcast, Tony and Harper, as they dive deep into the power of atomic habits.
Welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be talking about Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Great book.
It is. It's all about how tiny changes can lead to remarkable results.
Yeah.
And one of the things that makes this book really stand out is how Clear, the author, uses his own life story and a really dramatic incident in his life to kind of illustrate these points. It's not just some, self-help guru telling you what to do.
Yeah, he walks the walk, right?
Yeah.
He's really lived these principles, and it starts with this, near-fatal accident he had back in high school.
Yeah. So Clear was a high school baseball player.
Right.
And during a game, he suffered this really devastating facial injury.
It is awful.
Yeah. I mean, it was so bad that he ended up in a coma, unable to breathe on his own.
Really rough. Months of recovery, double vision, learning to walk again.
Yeah, it was grueling.
He had to fight his way back to even playing baseball.
I can't even imagine.
So this experience, though, it became like a crucible for him. This is where his kind of obsession with habits was born, I think.
It makes sense, right? Because he had to focus on those tiny little things.
Exactly. It wasn't about some, miracle cure. It was these small, consistent actions.
Every single day.
Day after day, compounding into these, incredible results.
And what's really amazing is he took that experience, right?
Yeah.
Of having to make these small changes consistently.
Yeah.
And he applied it to other areas of his life.
Totally. It wasn't just about physical recovery for him. It was about, reclaiming agency.
Yeah.
Even when life throws you a curveball, you can still make progress,
Even starting from, the very bottom.
Yeah. And that's where this idea of systems versus goals comes in.
Right, because we get so focused on the goal.
Yeah, we're all about the end result, but Clear argues that real change comes from the systems.
The systems that drive those results.
Yeah, it's about shifting your focus.
So instead of saying, I want to lose 10 pounds, you focus on building a system.
Yeah, I'm the type of person who prioritizes their health.
And then the habits that support that.
Exactly. He calls them identity-based habits.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's not just about checking things off a list.
Right.
It's about, who you want to be.
It's about building a life, a life that aligns with your values, who you are deep down.
Yeah.
And to help you actually build those habits, he lays out this really clear and actionable framework.
Yeah.
It's called the 4 Laws of Behavior Change.
Okay.
So the acronym is make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying.
I like that.
Easy to remember.
Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying.
Yeah, and he doesn't just tell you what to do. He backs it all up with science.
Oh, good. I like that.
And real-world examples.
Perfect. So let's break down those laws.
Sure.
So the first one, make it obvious. What does that mean?
Well, it's about designing your environment, right, to support your habits, the ones you want. So, for example, if you want to drink more water, keep a water bottle on your desk. Or in your bag, somewhere you'll see it all the time.
So you're constantly reminded.
Exactly. It's about creating visual cues.
Okay.
They trigger the habit automatically.
Yeah, because if you don't see it,
out of sight, out of mind.
You don't think about it.
Exactly.
All right. So the second law, make it attractive. So how do we make a habit attractive?
Well, you got to make it appealing, something you actually want to do.
Okay. And
one way to do that is to bundle a habit you need to do with one you want to do.
Okay, I've heard of this.
Yeah, he calls it temptation bundling.
Okay, so what would be an example of that?
Well, he talks about this engineering student, Ronan Byrne. This guy rigged his stationary bike to only play Netflix if he was pedaling at a certain speed.
Oh, that's clever.
Right.
So he's getting his workout in, but he's also getting to watch his show.
Exactly. It's like a reward.
So he's more likely to do it.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, so the third law, make it easy. So we want to make it as easy as possible to do the things we want to do.
Right. Reduce the friction. Make it effortless.
Okay, so what are some ways to do that?
Preparation, planning. For example, you want to work out in the morning. Lay out your clothes the night before.
Yeah.
So you're not like scrambling around half asleep.
Because then you're less likely to do it.
Exactly. Or let's say you're trying to cut back on social media. Delete the apps from your phone.
Oh, wow, that's a big one.
It is, but it makes it harder to access, you know.
You have to go through more steps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More friction. Less appealing.
I like it. Okay, and the last law, make it satisfying.
Yeah, this is about rewarding yourself.
Ooh, rewards.
Even small rewards, you know, because our brains, they're wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain.
Right.
So if you associate a positive feeling with a habit, you're more likely to repeat it.
So it could be something as simple as like listening to your favorite music while you work out.
Exactly. Or using a really nice smelling soap after you shower.
Yeah, those little things make a difference.
Absolutely. It's
Wow.
about reinforcing those good habits.
So those are the 4 laws. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. And we can apply these to both building new habits and breaking bad habits.
Absolutely. You just kind of reverse the principles.
Okay. So we've got these 4 laws down.
Right.
But how do we actually put them into practice?
Right.
How do we stick to these new habits?
Well, one strategy is habit tracking.
Okay.
Sounds simple, but it's really powerful.
Okay.
It's about creating visual evidence of your progress.
Okay.
So Clear tells this story about Trent Deersmid,
Okay.
a stockbroker. He moved paper clips between jars to track his sales calls.
Okay.
So he would start each day with 120 paper clips in one jar. That was his target number of calls for the day. And every time he made a call, he'd move a paper clip to another jar.
That's a good visual.
It is, and it kept him going.
It's like a game.
Exactly. You see those paper clips piling up, and you don't want to break the streak.
Right. And it also helps you stay accountable.
Totally. And speaking of accountability, Claire also talks about accountability partners.
Oh, yeah.
And habit contracts.
Habit contracts. Now, those are interesting.
Yeah, it's a written agreement, right? Where you outline the consequences for not following through on your habits.
Okay.
And ideally, you have it witnessed by other people.
So you're less likely to weasel out of it.
Exactly. Adds that extra layer of accountability.
Right. So Claire tells this funny story about Brian Harris, an entrepreneur. And he used increasingly painful penalties.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
To motivate himself.
Yeah.
To achieve his fitness goals.
Yeah.
So if he missed a workout, he'd have to wear a rival team's hat.
Yeah. Or donate money to a cause he disliked.
Oh, that's great.
It's pretty clever.
It is. So it's we're kind of outsourcing our willpower to a system.
Yeah, you pre-commit to your future self.
Yeah, I like that.
You remove that temptation to negotiate with yourself in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
Because we all know how that usually goes.
Exactly. But what about our personality? Does that play a role too?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we're not all wired the same way, right?
Right.
Clear actually talks about the big 5 personality traits.
Okay.
Like openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
Yeah, so he says understanding your personality can be helpful, in choosing habits that align with your strengths.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, for example, someone high in conscientiousness, meaning they're naturally organized and disciplined, right? They might find it easier to stick to a structured routine or a habit that requires, meticulous tracking.
Okay.
But someone high in extroversion, on the other hand, they might thrive in habits that involve social interaction, like joining a group fitness class or a book club or something.
So it's kind of like playing to your strengths.
Exactly. It's about leveraging your natural inclinations.
But doesn't that risk putting people in boxes a little bit?
That's a good point. And Clear addresses that concern. It's not about limiting yourself to habits that fit your current personality.
Okay.
It's about using your self-awareness as a tool, right? To choose habits that are both enjoyable and effective for you.
So it's not a prescription. It's more like a guideline.
Right. It's about recognizing that we're all different and what works for one person might not work for another.
Makes sense. Another concept I found really interesting was the Goldilocks rule.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So Clear explains how we thrive on challenges that are just manageable.
Right. Not too easy, not too hard.
Right in that sweet spot.
It's based on the science of motivation. We experience peak motivation when we're working on tasks that are right on the edge of our current abilities.
I totally get that. Like when I was learning to play the guitar, the beginner chords were so easy, I got bored quickly.
Yeah.
But then trying to learn like really complex pieces was so frustrating.
Right. You wanted to give up.
Exactly. It's those songs that were challenging enough that pushed me just beyond my comfort zone, that kept me coming back for more.
And it's the same with building habits. You know, you want to find that Goldilocks zone.
That sweet spot.
Where you're consistently pushing yourself, but not overwhelming yourself.
But how do we make sure we don't hit a plateau?
Yeah, that's the key, right? Even with good habits, we can get stuck in a rut.
Totally.
So Clear emphasizes the importance of seeking novelty and raising the bar as we improve.
So it's not about finding the perfect habit and just sticking to it rigidly.
Right. It's about continuously adapting and evolving as we grow.
So how do we do that?
Well, Clear talks about how even small improvements, what he calls marginal gains, can add up to significant results over time.
Small changes, big results.
Exactly. He uses the example of the British cycling team. They used this principle to achieve incredible success.
Oh, wow.
They didn't try to overhaul everything at once. They focused on making tiny improvements in every aspect of their training, like the aerodynamics of the bikes, the sleep habits of the riders, you name it.
Wow, and it paid off.
Big time. Those tiny improvements compounded into massive success.
So we've talked about the importance of setting up systems for success, making those small changes consistently. But how do we know if we're actually making progress?
Yeah, that's where reflection and review come in.
Okay.
It's about taking a step back and honestly evaluating your habits.
Even the good ones.
Even the good ones.
Right.
You know, what's working, what's not working. What can I learn from this?
So it's a continuous process of learning and tweaking.
Exactly. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Right. So Clear actually uses this process in his own life.
Right.
He does an annual review, what he calls an integrity report, where he assesses his progress and identifies areas for improvement.
It's a great idea. I think it keeps you accountable to yourself.
And it makes sure your habits are actually aligned with your goals and values.
Right. And this ties back to the idea of identity-based habits.
It's not just about achieving specific outcomes.
It's about becoming the kind of person who lives in alignment with their values.
So instead of tying your identity to a specific role, like athlete or CEO,
you define yourself in terms of the qualities you want to embody, like being someone who is disciplined or resilient or creative.
I like that it's more flexible.
Exactly. It's about building a foundation that supports you no matter what challenges you face.
So we've talked a lot about the what of habits, but what about the why?
The why is crucial, right? It's the driving force behind everything we do.
Exactly. So why do we do the things we do?
Well, Clear gets into the science behind habits and reminds us that emotions play a huge role.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that.
He says that every decision we make at its core is an emotional decision.
We like to think we're rational.
We're not always as rational as we think we are. We're motivated by feelings, the anticipation of a reward, the desire to avoid pain or discomfort.
So how does this understanding of emotions help us build better habits?
Well, it highlights the importance of making good habits attractive and satisfying.
Especially in a world that's constantly bombarding us with instant gratification.
Exactly. Like, how do we compete with the allure of social media, the instant gratification of binge-watching Netflix, or the ease of ordering takeout instead of cooking a healthy meal?
Right. It's tough.
It is. But one strategy, as we mentioned before, is temptation bundling, pairing a habit you want to do with one you need to do. Another key point Clear makes is that we need to find ways to make good habits satisfying now, not just in the future.
So it's not just about the long-term benefits like being healthier or more productive.
It's about finding ways to make the habit itself enjoyable in the moment.
Like listening to your favorite music while you work out.
Exactly. Or treating yourself to a luxurious coffee after you finish a challenging task. Or simply savoring the feeling of accomplishment after a productive day.
It's about those little wins.
Exactly, those small but satisfying moments that keep you coming back for more.
And on the flip side, we can make bad habits less appealing by making them unsatisfying.
Right. If you're trying to quit smoking, you might avoid places where you typically smoke or make it inconvenient by keeping your cigarettes in a hard-to-reach place.
You're basically increasing the friction.
Exactly, making it less tempting to engage in the bad habit.
But I think it's also important to remember that we're not going to be perfect all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Clear emphasizes the importance of self-compassion.
Right, we're human. We're going to slip up.
It's inevitable.
It's not about being perfect, it's about getting back on track.
He has this great analogy of a habit being like a chain.
Okay.
You don't want to break the chain, but if you do, the key is to pick it up and reconnect it as soon as possible.
Don't let it derail you.
Exactly. He even has a rule, never miss twice.
I like that.
If you miss one day, get back on track the next day. Don't let a small slip-up turn into a full-blown relapse.
It's a good reminder that it's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. It's about focusing on the process, showing up each day, and making those small improvements even when it feels challenging.
And remembering that even the smallest actions can compound into massive results over time.
Right. He uses the analogy of a plane taking off.
Oh, yeah.
If you adjust the course of a plane by just a few degrees, it might not seem like a big deal at first.
Right.
But over a long flight, that small adjustment can mean the difference between arriving at your intended destination or ending up hundreds of miles off course.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is. It reminds us that our habits are like the rudder of our lives.
Even seemingly insignificant choices can have a huge impact.
Exactly. And that's what makes this book so empowering. It reminds us that we have the power to choose our direction.
We're not just passive passengers.
Right. We can take control of the plane and steer it towards the destination we want to reach.
So much truth in that analogy. It's like we have this map and we can choose where we want to go. But as we wrap up this deep dive into atomic habits,
Yeah.
what are your top takeaways? What should our listeners really remember?
I think the biggest one is don't try to change everything at once.
Right.
Start small. Pick one tiny habit and focus on that.
It can be so overwhelming to try to do it all at once.
Totally.
Yeah.
Just remember those tiny changes, they add up.
Yeah. Make it easy for yourself. Reduce the friction for the good habits and increase the friction for the bad ones.
Yeah, exactly. Make it obvious. Make those good habits attractive and satisfying, and get rid of anything that's standing in your way.
And don't forget about tracking your progress.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
It can be anything, like a simple calendar or even a jar of paper clips like we talked about.
Right. But that visual representation can really keep you going.
It's like proof that you're doing it.
Exactly. And, more than anything, be patient with yourself.
That's a big one.
It takes time to build better habits.
It's process.
You're going to have setbacks. Life happens.
All right.
But don't let those setbacks, derail you.
Just get back on track.
As soon as you can. Keep moving forward.
It's progress, not perfection.
Right. Exactly. It's about building a system, continuously improving.
Yeah. Making those small adjustments, learning from your experiences.
Always striving to be a little bit better each day.
So to our listener, as we leave you with all these incredible insights from Atomic Habits, think about this. What's one small thing you could change today?
Yeah. What one tiny habit could you start building that would set you on a different path?
And remember, even the smallest actions, they can make a huge difference over time.
It all starts with that first step.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the transformative power of atomic habits. Remember, it's not about grand gestures. It's about the small, consistent actions you take every single day that compound into remarkable results. A huge thank you to Tony and Harper for that incredible conversation. Your insights were truly invaluable. If you found this discussion helpful and you're ready to start building the habits that will reshape your life, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and drop a comment below sharing your biggest takeaway or a habit you're committed to building. Every like, comment, and subscribe helps us bring you more content like this. And if you want to dive even deeper into these concepts, you can grab your own copy of Atomic Habits by James Clear. I've put an Amazon link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and here's to building the life you've always dreamed of, one atomic habit at a time.